What is it, guys? Welcome back to some more Philosopher 2, Governments and Grievances. What am I going to do? This is worse than ever. Trying to figure out what's going on here. Ari, thank God. She's finally awake. Jin, you're back? Does that mean Dad is... Hi, Ari. Dad! Sorry I ran off. No, that's not his voice. I needed some time to think. Oh, God, he is like that. But you've got yourself a good roommate. She helped me talk through it. And Marcus is pretty cool, too. We bonded over sweater vest. They're comfy and easy to wear. Dad, you don't need to be sorry. She's really... Things have gotten bad since you left. She just shut... Half a water bottle. We saw the end of it. Yeah, we saw the end of it. Fanon sure got under her skin. Pythia always hated therapy, but that was something else. Seeing Pythia give up like that was just hard to watch. I thought that if anyone could make a difference, she could. Listen, everyone. I've seen Pythia this upset once before. It was not fun. But when she pulled herself out of it, well, that's when she decided to run for office. All right. And shortly after that, you two... What's important here is she'll pull through this. I know she will. We just need to have her back. No more chucking notes to the portal, though, right? I make no such promises. Of course you don't. Mom? Mom, where are you? Okay, get up off the floor. Come on. Why are you back here? It's over, Adney. It's not over, Mom. So my original answer didn't work. That's baffling, but there's more we can do. You can't just back down. You have to keep trying. Whoever said that was a fool. Well, whoever said that was a fool. You said that when you first got here. Well, then point made. I am the queen of fools. I've been lying for so long, Adney, to myself, to everyone, putting on this optimistic, patriotic mask, trying to ignore everything clearly broken around me, smiling as I cut my feet on the glass. I am not the right person to convince someone to be less jaded. If I may, please, I have a plan that could help the senator sort through her current motivational miasma. Miasma? It could also address the disillusion you have expressed from the very beginning. Let me guess. Debate another dead guy. No, that approach clearly isn't working. So it's time to debate two dead guys. An exciting twist, yes? No. I'm sure, Arbiter. That's not really... Allow me to introduce John Rawls and Robert Nozick. Both professors at Harvard, these men had profound influence on the political left and right, respectively. Please. You give me too much credit, Arbiter. Oh, drop the modesty, John. Remember what the Guardian said in your obituary? I wouldn't know, Robert. I was dead. So was I, 10 months earlier, but all information is available here, you know. The English-speaking world has lost its leading political philosopher. Well, if we're quoting obituaries, the Telegraph called you the greatest American philosopher since William James. Are you sure about this, Arbiter? Growing up in the United States, you likely have pre-existed... Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is, but when I'm reading a lot, I start yawning. This is your grand plan? Deliberately mimic the nonsense I deal with in real life? It's not nonsense. Political debate furthers the discourse and challenges our stances, helping us make society better for all. John's right. Though frankly, he should have accepted that my utopian principles are superior by now. If you can can consider your principles utopian and not part of a financially obsessed dystopia. What does that mean? I care about plenty of things that aren't money. I always say people who like sunsets are just as valid as people who like yachts. That's fucking stupid. You only say that when pretending the rich are discriminated against. The focus has always been on defending the yachts, not the sunsets. Well, at least I'm not a covert authoritarian. You don't mean that? Reason for debate. Sunsets, yachts, stop, please, stop. Rawls, Nozick, I know you've been at this for a while, but can we slow down and stop flooding my idea slate? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Jones. Yes, am I? Yes, as am I. It's just, he's just so wrong about everything. God, this really is like the real world. Let's start with just one of you, shall we? The rest should flow from here. John, would you like to start? If I must, I suppose your work was mainly a response to mine. Not just a response to you. My work had its own. Please. There's a common reason governments fail. One your previous debate with Fanon covered in stark detail. Right. Turns out people hate each other, which is why this is all pointless and I should just rot here. Well, it can get pretty dire, yes, but if we adopt the right mindset, we can make real headway on this issue. We simply must deal with the problems at its source. All societies are fundamentally cooperative. To see, they must draw forth the willing cooperation of all. Yet most governments cannot escape inherent bias. Those in power help themselves undermining cooperation. Imagine instead that every decision maker was stripped of all knowledge of their particular lot in life and placed behind a veil of ignorance. With no knowledge of their status, participants wouldn't be able to rig the game in their favor. Such leaders would be compelled. Would it or would it? It wouldn't. One that guarantees willing cooperation from all citizens. Ah, yes, the original position. Emmanuel Kant was especially impressed. I'm aware we've exchanged autographs. Not sure how I feel about that information. So you think if all my fellows here could just forget who they are, we'd be golden? What a practical solution. You're getting hung up on non-ideal theory, Senator. But we must first establish our ideal theory. Ideal political theory assumes ideal conditions. People willing to comply with whatever rules are chosen and a society sufficiently well off to support them. It helps establish the target, and you need the target before solving for potential complication. The original position may be impossible for us to fully attain, but it's the perfect decision-making target. Fine, whatever. I'll try anything at this point. Marcus, if you're watching, we're switching our research to an amnesia machine. Maybe I can use it to forget this whole travesty. The perfect decision-making target. We'll see about that. Come on, Ariadne. Let's ask a few questions. Oh, you're helping? Of course. I couldn't leave you to fend for yourself against the diabolical John Rawls. Well, we should get started. Are they supposed to be on the team? Alright, so history's shown that the last one is usually either not right or something's wrong with it. This is my overall point, and the reason the original position is effective. It creates a society that benefits all. And a society that benefits all is a society everyone will approve of, is it not? What reasoning do you have to support this statement? This seems pretty self-evident. If the government structures society fairly, no reasonable citizen could object to it. I certainly object to it. Am I unreasonable? You're both unreasonable. Everyone's unreasonable. Everything is unreasonable. Under the veil of ignorance, leaders have no choice but to pursue fairness. And if the system is fair, all citizens will stand behind it. Are the citizens also behind this veil? No, the veil is only a temporary state, applied to leaders at the moment of decision. I guess stripping everyone's identity forever is too sci-fi for a thought. For a what? Thought experiment? What? Such leaders. I never know. There's no knowledge of it. All governments depend on willing cooperation. Yes? We'll remove selfishness from designing the system. Will result in a fair system. A societal structure that would certainly result in the needed cooperation. They wouldn't be able to at all. How can that be true? Let's revisit a common example involving human self-interest. Given the world's limited resources, those in power are often tempted to steal resources from the vulnerable. But leaders who don't know their own identities can't act on such temptation. If they treat any group poorly, they risk discovering that they themselves are a member of the mistreated group. So the only way to not screw themselves is to not screw anyone at all. That is accurate and succinct, if crudely worded. Alright, I got self-interest and what was the other one? John has such high-minded ideals, it's almost noble. I take it you have objections? Of course, but I can't just tell you what I think. That'd be no fun. But I'll vaguely gesture. Consider the problem he's trying to solve, Ariadne, and who he's really solving it for. Well, back to the top, I guess. That doesn't really fucking help me. This is one of the key tenets of a successful government. I guess it's the people he's trying to solve it for, so I know it has something to do with that ever since the updated things. All societies are fundamentally cooperative ventures. To succeed, they must draw forth the willing cooperation. I just read, wow. It may take months, it may take years, but a lack of willing cooperation will destroy any government. After all, why would citizens willingly obey a government they do not approve of? You yourself established this quite well in your counters in Machiavelli. Dislike their government, they will overthrow their government. So a government must be viewed favorably and to last. And the only way to successfully get the cooperation of all is to serve all. I wasn't doing his voices, my bad. Let's just see. Ha! Rawl, successful governments require willing cooperations, correct? Correct. And cooperation falls apart when leaders put their own interests first. Also correct. The people see that the government is not looking out for them. This is the value of the original position. It gives leaders perspective to choose what is most just for everyone. Most just for everyone. Gotta say, it's a nice ideal. But now we must face the non-ideal. This won't actually produce willing cooperation. What? Ah, I see your angle. This should be good. The original position tackles bias for decision makers, but does nothing about the rest of society. And when the decisions come down, people won't simply fall in line. Good is not great, Rawls. When people want society to be great for themselves, Look, I assume neither of you play video games in your philosophical retirement homes, but bear with me. In this game I play, Battle Bakers 2, the developers are constantly rebalancing character types. They make some stronger and others weaker in order to create better gameplay. It's not a perfect process, but most of the time they succeed. New dynamics emerge and the game is kept fresh, but most players don't care about the whole game. They only grip about changes to their own characters. Those monsters cut the productivity of cookie cutters by 15%. Who cares what the gingerbread rush combo was previously overpowered? Okay. Gingerbread rush? Are you positing that our lives are part of some game? Would explain all the twists I've been put through. What? No, don't be ridiculous. But if people can't see beyond themselves in a game, where the stakes are far lower, how can you ever expect them to do so in real life? Oh, it boils down to this, Rawls. People struggle to put themselves in others' shoes, especially when they benefit from not doing so. All they see is how decisions affect them, or as Fanon would point out, people like them. So even if they only lose a little in pursuit of a better whole, they'll still believe their government neglects them. They'll kick and scream and complain loudly on social media. There are a lot of nice things about your thought experiment, but an ability to unite everyone isn't one of them. So even if the government could adopt this unbiased state, we'd still be doing. Marcus, cancel the amnesia machine. Very slick, Ariadne Jones. It was astute of you to respect the self-interest of individuals, something old Rawls here always loses sight of. I mean, whether I respect it or not, people will find the system their leaders choose unfair, no matter their leaders' intentions. When you distribute resources according to a pattern, some will lose something. It's inevitable. And no one ever asks the impacted citizens for their consent, do they? There's no such thing as fair redistribution. I can't say words right now. Pattern principles are inherently unjust. Let me get some water.
Nonsense!
Hold on, Nozick. Why are pattern principles unjust? Excuse me? My objection to Rawls was that it seemed difficult to choose a pattern everyone would like. That's more about how people would respond than the rules themselves. But you're saying such rules are inherently bad? Why? John, you know what this means. Naturally. Change places. Wait, they switch teams? What just happened? Robert is about to present one of his different ideas. As he provided limited support when you challenged me, I shall do the same as you challenged him. It only seems fair. You'll need all the help you can get. My logic's incredibly sound. I've even brought slides. So I'm assuming we have to do 6? Let's say we redistribute wealth, achieving whatever spread we deem acceptable. We'll call this D1. But suddenly Wilt Chamberlain appears. What? He decided to play again, and everyone wants to pay to see the game. When all is said and done, Wilt could amass more money than anyone else. A new pattern has emerged, D2. Every transaction was voluntary, but our ideal wealth distribution has broken. So any pattern would demand if we cancel the game or take Wilt's earning. What? Pattern principles will... I don't like his ideas already. Will constantly violate people's liberty to freely exchange for what they want. And there we go. You've always favored colorful thought experiments, Nozick. And I'll admit, the diagrams are quite nice. Indeed, I expected nothing less from the creator of the utility monster. But I do have a question for you. Who is this Wilt Chamberlain? Oh, Arbiter. And all that footage on him is straight fake. I need to either see footage or it's fake. And I'm glad I brought that up. I'm proud of that. My poor man. Sometimes I forgot how ancient you are. Actually, I don't know who that is either. Okay, concerning. Is he a streamer or something? How would he be a streamer? Oh, no, it's my topical reference outdated. Oh, no, is my topical reference outdated? Am I the old one? Wilt Chamberlain was a famous basketball player, Miss Jones. Started with the Damn, say some stupid ass shit. Globetrotters ended with the Lakers. Globetrotters? That's what I was about to say. Ah, well, I don't care much for sports. Yes, that must be it. Surely my references are still hip with the kids of today. As hip as philosophy is in general. Shall we begin? Sure, let's see what Nozicks knows. This assumes we've achieved the dream of Rawls, Marx, and any other philosopher who believes in pattern principles. Starting with such an assumption makes it easy to highlight the issues they have. The issues you have. When I'm done, my dear John, I won't be the only one who sees the problems. This is distributive ideals. I can't say distribution right now. Do not work in practice. I have to go get another water bottle. Play this while Well, his charts are pretty hard to argue with. If you accept the assumptions in the charts, I have to say I feel a little straw-manned. Every time I see graph prove a point, I ask myself, what data is not shown? Doesn't matter. Your grandma never asked questions before sending them to her bingo friends. What's the point of checking facts if no one checks the fact checks? I do, Mom. If there's something missing here, I'll find it. This isn't really the sort of statement one needs to support. It's just the initial setup to the argument. We're assuming that we've succeeded at any of the various distributive ideals. Oh, it's not that one. It establishes the thought experiment that is core to my argument. Excuse me? I just don't understand why people go crazy about athletes doing athlete stuff. It's a thought experiment. Will Chamberlain could be substituted for anything a large group would want to see. But you'd understand if you'd ever seen him play. It's unfortunate Will passed on even before I did. That's a fake game, bro. He did not get that game. I'm saying that now. Oh, so he's dead. This would be a spooky zombie basketball game. Maybe I would pay to see that. Sure, yes, everyone will pay because they want to see spooky zombies play basketball. Reason people want to pay doesn't matter as long as there is something that people want to pay for. Wilt Chamberlain, famous basketball player by the way, is playing a game. People want to see him play. But how does he appear so suddenly? Is he also a wizard? Wilt would walk into the scene normally? I was just embellishing. No, I'm not gonna make you update your statement for that, Nozick. How Wilt enters isn't relevant. Statement unupdated? Why'd I get an achievement for that? It establishes the results that the thought experiment setting up our conclusion. I could present a mathematical proof, I suppose, but that seems like overkill. Aren't you an accountant? This is simple arithmetic. If you take a bit from 2,000 equal piles and transfer the sum to the final one, the piles are no longer equal. I mean, look. Not the same, see? Yes, I see. Can you clarify this for me? I must admit, I'm not sure how to clarify this beyond what is shown on the chart. If everyone gives Wilt Chamberlain money, the result is that Wilt has a lot of money. What are my things? This is the crux of it. Any pattern that manages wealth, I don't really get his ideal. And this maintenance inevitably interferes with the economic choices of consenting adults. Yeah, I'm not really understanding his. What? Every single person in this thought experiment participated willingly, and willing actions should intuitively, whatever, be allowed. But if we're trying to maintain a pattern of wealth, we'll have to intervene either before the transaction or after to maintain the pattern. Given this, it seems clear that pattern-based principles are covertly authoritarian. Even if all actions were taken voluntarily, they'd have to be undone to restore the ideal distribution. I don't know. The chart shows everyone starting with the same cash. Are you assuming that that's the pattern we apply? Not at all. I'm only showing a flat distribution because it's easy to track the changes visually. Our starting distribution could also be like this, or like this. All that matters is we've chosen an ideal pattern of wealth and achieved it. Okay, so I guess it's time to start guessing, because your boy's already lost. Alright, I guess I'll go with. We'll go with what I think it is.
Nonsense!
That was right? That was right, guys! Oh my god! Okay, sorry. Okay, Nozick. Consenting adults must be free to make their own transactions, yes? I've been pretty clear about that. And patterns have to interfere because any transactions breaks their vision of justice. Indeed, money has moved. The distribution of wealth will no longer comply with a specific goal. I get it. On the surface, that seems hard to argue with. But that's because you're dealing with a surface and analysis of transactions. Let me bite open. This entire time, you've been talking about patterns and transactions that track only one variable, monetary wealth. But cold hard cash is only one thing individuals can value. And model gets more complicated if we acknowledge. I don't know what's just happening with my reading right there. What do you mean, Ariadne? Let's say we track another type of wealth. How about, I don't know, happiness? Still have a bit of nostalgia for utilitarianism, I guess. If we add happiness to our assessment of transactions, no way I just stole his graph. We get a starting state like this? What is? Imagine up a widescreen. Baby increases my happiness is not to not use archaic slides. This is I feel like that's archaic. I'm not sure. This is our starting point. H1. Though the people all have money, they're not super happy. They may even have negative happiness. These sad marks are so emotionally dependent on sports, and no sports are happening. But after the game, we get this, H2. Even though the non-wilts lost money, they gain greater happiness. The total comfort, I honestly don't understand this ideology, is better than when we started, which makes sense, as that's why people wanted to see the game in the... Bro, I'm confused. Suddenly it seems less certain a pattern would have to interfere. The results were positive for all. But if the game's terrible and the fans are charged $1 billion, H3... Wow, those are some sad bars for everyone but Wilt. Seems more like something we would want to interfere with. The non-wilts are left with so little, future transactions would grind to a halt. I'm no accountant, but this math checks out. Nozick, to assume all patterns would constantly interfere requires a lack of nuance. It's possible to design rules that only protect us from intense edge cases, that otherwise leave our autonomy intact. I don't even know what I'm reading anymore. And then wilt or non-wilt, we'd all have a sporting chance. Well, astutely put, Miss Jones. Using your own charts was a nice touch. Now, if we consider for a moment how we should go about designing such a pattern, let me guess, by using the original position. Well, since you mentioned it...
Nonsense!
Let's not invest too much stock in Ariadne's charts just yet. After all, they're likely to crash the market. I think I raised pretty solid points. Your argument was clever, but it does not match the strength of my convictions. Very little interference from the government can be justified, and what you described doesn't fit the bill. We shouldn't intervene just because an exchange might make one of the parties a little sad. No, only I swear they're making up these words. Monarchist state can give people the autonomy they deserve. Am I saying that word right? I feel like I'm not saying it right. Alimony. No. Monarchist state? What does that mean? That's what I'm saying. These new words. I'm learning new words and mid-recording. Marx introduced the idea of anarchism earlier. Is that related? Much of my work was in response to the call of anarchism. I could see the appeal, though my variant of choice was anarcho-capitalism. But a monarchist state is a better option for a variety of reasons. Much can be accomplished with a very slight government. Hey, y'all gonna stop slinging these words at me. That's all I know. Our world starts wholly unowned, and anyone can lay claim to it. Individuals can claim as much property as they're able, with little limitation. But once claimed, goods must be able to be freely exchanged without theft, force, or fraud. A minimal state would therefore form to protect against such aggression. This state exists only as a night watchman, taking action against those who violate these principles. Yes, individuals have rights, and there are things no person or group may do to them. Only the barest minimum state is needed to properly enforce this order, and that state basically just protects people's stuff. Rights are less a matter of freedom to than they are freedom from. They define not what I'm allowed to do, but what you're not allowed to do to me. As a result, anything that does not explicitly harm another individual is fair game. Whether I'm poor or rich, I should be free to use my holdings as I see fit. Right, because the poor have so many holdings to work with. See, this is why I can't stand libertarians. More or less than communists, because you were pretty prickly with Marx too. They're all terrible. Humanity is hopeless, and all our political constructs are trash. Okay, she's definitely getting worse. Well, seeing as Robert has already presented his ideas, perhaps we can engage with them and see for ourselves. Right. Alright, I'm probably going to need new statements. This establishes there's ample room for individuals to make their mark on the world. This establishes how individuals can exchange property, profiting off their various holdings and creations. While people can lay claim to many things, it's impossible for anyone to claim in everything. It follows that individuals will both control goods that others need and need goods controlled by others. So once private property has been appropriated, we are morally required to have a free market. That way, people can request and trade assets they own for assets they want. And we're just okay with the results no matter what happens? If somewhere in the chain of transactions theft, coercion, or fraud occurred, we could safely say the property involved is unjustly held. The monarchist state should be then intervene, but otherwise all holdings can be considered just. Individuals must be able to seek whatever transactions they desire. To do so, they must also be confident they won't be coerced or misled. A free market is hardly free if your decisions are made under threat or force, after all. This establishes how a state could be consistent with the principles of libertarianism. Simply that such a state is something people would agree to without coercion. This follows the motto of many of my predecessors, Locke, Hobbes, Rousseau. People seek agreements that protect their rights. In the free market, individuals would voluntarily contract others who provide protection services. These transactions would form a network of private security, a minimal state created without even trying. I think I'm fusing words is what I'm doing, as people will opt for the version that best suits them. Any violating companies would have their services replaced with another. What if these security agencies attack those who are not under contract? A fair question. I have a few more charts on the subject of interplay between. No more charts. Fine, I will summarize. All will learn that warfare is not in the interest of the security companies or their clients. Individuals do not have a right to threaten or coerce others, but they do have a right to punish those who do. This value is commonly referred to as the non-aggression principle. But as you discussed with Locke, individual responses are difficult, so we need a minimal state to carry out such punishments. This establishes why a monarchist state is the best option and the extent to which government is still necessary. I haven't got a new statement, so this should be intuitive extension of our natural ownership of ourselves. But I'll explain anyway. If someone steals from you and the government helps track them down, the government is acting in your interest. Similarly, if you lose your rights in a coercive contract, the court should help defend you. But let's say the government taxes you 20% of your wealth and uses that money to build a park. Did you care about that park? Maybe. You didn't get to choose. You might have wanted to use that money on a school or to build a house. Seizing the results of someone's labor is equivalent to seizing hours from him and directing him to carry on various activities. In short, taxations of earnings from labor is on par with forced labor. Really, taxation is slavery? That's where we're going here. Oh, he just said some stupid shit. Do I really need to explain why that seems a little much? I may have overstated my point. Obviously, the conditions of actual forced labor are abhorrent. But even so, I did not consent to how my wealth was used, so I believe my overall reasonings stands. Consent is always key. By night watchman, I mean that the minimal state does not involve itself in the lives of citizens, except to protect against the aggression of others. Bodies that provide such protection are justified the courts, police, and military, but any more extensive state will violate a person's right to not be forced to participate in it is unjustified. God, Nozick reminds me of Franklin Tucker. Your political opponent? The jerk wants to get rid of every program we have and spends it in the name of justice. He uses the same everyman comparison. These programs only work by taking from someone else, like poor defensive Elon Musk. What? I hate Franklin Tucker, and he's going to win, Adney. He's going to win. Yo, you gave up before you even saw the result, bro. Like, dang, fight back. He'll definitely win if we don't get you out of here. Come on, let's get back to it. The world started as an untamed wilderness, ripe for the taking. Do you believe the world started divided into countries, states, cities, and farms? Humanity had to claim areas they found desirable, build a fence, mix labor with local resources, and come to own them. Well, sure, humans weren't everywhere initially, but what about animals? They have territory they claimed, right? I dedicated a section of my book to this very topic. Animals are rarely valued by my colleagues. Yeah, you guys hunt them, so I'm starting to realize who he is. But I believe animals count for something. Higher animals, at least, should be given weight in deliberations about what to do. I suppose you could view animals as having their own claims and alter the principles of libertarianism accordingly. Where they roam, they own. That's not a position I hold, but it's certainly a matter worth pondering. Alright, it has to be this one. It's up to individuals to claim as much of the unclaimed as they can. You also said with little limitation. So, is there some limitation? Yes, a little thing I call the Lockean proviso. Oh no, you named it after him? His ego is big enough. Wait, what? Oh my fucking god. I just realized what he said. Lockean. Well, I did this decades ago, so perhaps I'm partly responsible. Regardless, the proviso stipulates all the claims are acceptable unless the claim actively makes life worse for other individuals. It's a principle that will kick in very rarely. Still seems like an important part of your structure. Can you update your argument to reflect that? It establishes how individuals come to own property and specifies the one limitation that regulates the process. This statement is functionally the same as before. Individuals are free to claim as much as they can, as long as it doesn't block others from their needs. Suppose you come across the only oasis in the desert and string a hammock between two trees. Should you thereby come to own the whole oasis? No, of course not. If you claim this limited necessity, I'm not Gojo, for yourself, you would condemn all others who need to cross the desert. Now, suppose you develop a novel cure for cancer, claim intellectual property rights to it, and want to charge people exorbitant, whatever, prices to use it. Should the state grant a patent that allows you to do this? Is this also a no? Gonna be honest, kind of guessing here. I'd say it's a yes. Others could find another cure after all. Okay, I'm starting to understand this idea a little bit. And with the property right to the cure, you should be free to sell the resulting drug for whatever sum you wish. So we're good on cancer profiteering then. Wonderful. Oh yeah, we seen that shit. Oh yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah, we seen that shit, boy. Oh yeah, you done fucked up. Nozick, you were so pleased when I challenged Rawls' ideal of unity with the realities of our non-ideal world. Of course, the veil of ignorance can only exist in the realm of theory. People can't simply discard their self-interest. And you believe your philosophy avoids similar pitfalls. The rights of individuals, she's setting them up so bad, are at its core, so individuals will find little to complain about. I'm not so sure. Because instead of worrying about the government, they now have to worry about every other person on the planet. Do explain, Ariadne Jones. In Nozick's case, the core issue is not human nature but the nature of the world. Because no matter how clever you are, there are only so many goods to claim. Eventually, some will be shut out. But I accounted for that. Right, the Lockean proviso, allowing us to block transactions that harm others. You argue this proviso rarely matters, and I guess I could believe that if the world was largely unoccupied, but in a world that's densely populated, where resources are not adequately distributed, in other words, our world, you could easily make the argument that every claim does harm. And that's facts, because you know what? I go to Chick-fil-A, and they always give me uneven fries. Like, fillet me, bro, give me more fries, damn! Sorry, that's unrelated. The first time someone says, I own this, someone down the chain could start. Come to think of it, that argument Marx made isn't... That's the argument Marx made, isn't it? What? You opened the door to the very philosophy you despised most. That unkempt... So there you go, Nozick. When placed in the real world, Lockean proviso kicks in far more often than you intended. Your pure protection of property rights is hardly pure at all. Well stated once again, Ariadne Jones. It really was. If only there was a metric more nuanced than the Lockean proviso, I may have some thoughts on that very subject. Well, shucks, John. You could have spoken up earlier. He tried, but you nonsensed over it. I guess that's true. Apologies, John. I got carried away. It's not a big deal. Shall we continue? Please. Well then, only one thing to do. Change places. How do they do that so quickly? Luckily, Miss Jones' objection leads nicely to what I wish to say. While the veil of ignorance is a thought experiment, it serves to create an honest assessment of the world as it is. The various constraints and strains on society were very much on my mind. Now, as Miss Jones has said, and Robert has demonstrated, some people will always struggle to see beyond themselves. Nonetheless, I believe the original position can identify an approach that will reach a critical threshold of support. When society is assessed from the original position, it becomes clear we must organize society to maximize the well-being of the least favored. This means some things are distributed equally, rights and freedoms, and a comfortable standard of living must be guaranteed for all citizens, so even the worst off have an incentive to cooperate, but forms of inequality that benefit everyone should be allowed. For example, higher pay for the harder working makes it possible for all to achieve a better life. Structured this way, a society is created that all would be willing to participate in. I hope that was clear enough. Through the lens of the original position, we can structure society for the betterment of all. It is, in fact, the only society that can adequately correct for past actions which have disenfranchised so many. I will admit, it seems important to rectify the corrupt transactions of the past, but to do so justly, we need to somehow assess every exchange over the hundreds of years. So the task seems incredibly difficult, if not impossible. While working from the original position, we can naturally correct for these injustices. Well, Ariadne, looks like we've got our work cut out for us. You mean I've got my work cut out for me? You'll just vaguely gesture at ideas. establishes an outline. This dives a bit deeper into some of the liberties we want to protect. This is a fairly common philosophical ideal at this point, and one Robert and I share. Because it's a I forgot his voice. Because it's a fantastic idea. What's his voice again? I forgot his voice. Yep, Locke's still hanging around. It's true though. It's also plain that we disagree as to the exact nature and extent of these rights. Regardless, every citizen must be guaranteed an adequate scheme of basic liberties, compatible with other people who also having those rights. The opportunity to run for office, to speak freely, to defend themselves against accusations. Because it is. That's probably what I think that was. What is this? What do you mean by that? Anything we determine to be rights should be allocated to everyone. I like how he's just quick and to the point. This establishes how we improve the lives for those at the bottom, furthering willing cooperation. This is an intuitive guarantee under the Maxim approach. If the poorest are destitute, lacking even food and shelter, all their efforts go towards basic survival. It's impossible to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Wow, that's crazy. If you have no boots to pull on. It's impossible to do even with boots, and the impossibility was the original intent of the phrase, but I digress. By setting aside an adequate amount for everyone, we ensure everyone has an opportunity to pursue a better life. Or it just lays around. That does become a possibility. But having a few beneficiaries who don't give back is a small price to pay for the good of all. Besides, my next statement will show why people will be incentivized to aim higher. It's the next one. Those in the original position may not... Okay, bro, stop sucking the original position like that. Where they will wind up. But they know they will want an opportunity to grow. It is for the betterment of society that those who are exceptionally skilled are rewarded for applying those skills. I see, so you still believe society would have some economic engine as its core, just a carefully controlled one. That's called socialism. This is clearly socialism. That word is not deserving of the negative associations it has, but it does have those associations, so I prefer to avoid it. You should have just owned it, John. Join the great revolutionaries. Okay, let's walk this back a bit. This established that the society we would build provides external motivations for participation. There is still economic mobility within an egalitarian... Bro, he's making these words up, bro. Society. It doesn't demand we all stay in the same level. It's a counter of sorts to Robert's fear of constant interference. Not all inequality is detrimental to society. Certain permissions can result in a world that is better off for all. This is the conclusion. It illustrates how the principles chosen are in the interest of all. And a society is in the interest of all, it will draw forth the cooperation of all. Will it not? I guess. Well, I can't see a reason to doubt it. Any rational person can look at this sort of society and see opportunities for all. If achieved, it would be in everyone's best interest to maintain it. An egalitarian society is a society that is hard to object to. Any rational analysis, after all, reveals that it provides opportunity to all. This is starting to feel really... Got any tips for me, Nozick? I've got nothing new for you. This feels the same as before. You've already heard my response to this sort of philosophy. While I can appreciate what he's going for, it still doesn't work for me. You're going to have to trust yourself on this one. Wait, so I don't even get vague guesses this time? Those in the original position who don't know what kind of person they will be, as a result, they will want... Hold on, what? To make sure that even the worst off has a shot at a decent life. You have some degree of self-interest in the original position. You just don't know who the self is. The scariest possibility is that you emerge and find yourself among the most destitute. So it makes sense to apply a maximum approach where you maximize your lowest values. This ensures those at the bottom will still have something meaningful to work with, and no matter where you wind up, you will as well. Now look at this, good guys. It is inhumane to choose a structure where some can barely live. This is always true, but becomes more clear when we picture ourselves among the disposed. Alright, time to save. I can already tell what happened. Alright, the newest statement was this. Rawls, but historically these rights haven't been distributed equally. Yes, it's true, but that's an argument for this statement. Not against it, is it not? Our continual failure is to see the world outside of our perspective. If we could address that, surely society would be better. And this statement illustrates that almost any system created the original position would be more just created from the originals. It's one of these two, I think. Oh, okay, Rawls, but if any equality is allowed, won't this just perpetuate? Damn, historical injustices. It just looks weird spelled like that. It just looks weird. I know the word. After all, many people only reach their superior positions because of society's biases. That is indeed true. However, the original position is the best place to dismantle such unjust systems. Shut the fuck up about this original position, bro. Knowing you could wind up in that disadvantaged group, you would not wish to allow that sort of inequality to persist. Work twice as hard for half the recognition. It is a clearly unjust status quo. It would have to go, even if it required a large upfront adjustment. Where am I getting upfront adjustment? Then, with the playing field leveled, we could all be rewarded equally for our benefits. Alright, let's try this one. No, it's not it. Neither do I, nor I. Okay, jeez. And they all ganged up on me. No, okay. So I've literally, after this one, I've used this one for all of them, so... Alright, it's not this one. I don't want to use this. Going there? Why not? Being called a fascist is a normal Tuesday in politics. The idea that sort of social welfare is a slippery slope to an authoritarian regime depends on... I really don't know. I'll admit, this one is making you think. Like, the first one, I just got stumped. Like, I dead ass don't know. But they give you the answer, but you just gotta look. just don't know. Alright. But I don't feel like that's for any of them, so I don't even know I did that.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I already did that. Got smoke doing that. Just confirming it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Well, this is not nearly as engaging as I thought it would be. What do you say, John? Should we split? I suppose so. That is all. Far too much attention for me anyway. Wait, you're going to leave just like that? Guys, I guess this is it, isn't it? There is no way I'm getting out of now. I'm getting out of here, whatever. Not it. Not it.
Nonsense.
Okay, it might be this one. No, it isn't. To be honest, that notion that a majority of people would choose to settle for a mere baseline life seems preposterous. Individuals are more self-motivated than we give them credit for. My statement establishes external incentives as well. Even if a few do settle, society is structured to reward those who put in effort. There would be very little to complain about. Is the idea that someone might be able to scrape by without work truly that abhorrent enough? Excuse me. There's that reasonable person qualifier again. Hey, like, these are hard, bro. Okay.
Nonsense.
What was that? That's the weakest nonsense I've ever heard. I have to agree, Miss Jones. Is your throat okay? If you'd like to try again, Ariadne, I could fetch you the idea of water. Water won't help. It's just my objection isn't really satisfying. In fact, it's kind of depressing, and it definitely won't help shake Mom from her stupor. Well, I'm prepared to hear it, regardless. Rawls, you've done a good job of shoring up by your system and explaining how you believed any reasonable person could support it. But when run through the gauntlet of self-interest, I'm still not sure people would rally behind it. Your problem is that it's the same as before. Some will feel this approach holds them back. They'll do whatever they can to break those constraints and further their own goals, and who knows, they might just succeed. So that's it, huh? The ultimate critique I cannot escape is that I expect too much from humanity. Your whole reason for pursuing this philosophy was to counter such self-interest. If everyone went behind the veil once in a while, the world might be a better place. But we don't live lives entirely separate from others, or from ourselves. We can only imagine such lives, and although you make a strong case for that being a good thing to do, some won't succeed and others won't even want to try. You've given me much to think about, Miss Jones. Just like everyone else we've met, much to think about, but nothing that actually works. Well, if that's the best critique she's got, I must be exceeding expectations. And I have infinite time to think of a way to get everyone on board, don't I? I mean, best of luck, John. But have you considered perhaps that uniting everyone behind one system is a fool's errand? You can't satisfy everybody, especially when there are some who will be dissatisfied as long as others are satisfied. And what would you have us do instead? Acknowledge that people are different. The best of all possible worlds for me will not be that for you. That much is obvious. But you know what? Accepting this fact is the key that unlocks success. Upon the foundations of libertarianism, we'll build a framework that does work for everyone. Really, how will you pull that off? What do you say, John? One last round? One last round. God damn, this is a long chapter. As I was saying... Shit, man, John... I'm exhausted. If we truly believe in the rights of individuals, we must accept that different individuals will prefer different societies. The ideal utopia would thus consist of many smaller utopias, divergent communities in which people live different lives. Society would constantly create new communities. Everyone would be free to move between them, seeking the society they desire most. The overarching government is still... That will not work. Just his last sentence alone will make it not work. There we go, the pinnacle of philosophy. Since any form of community may be established within the framework, it is compatible with all utopian visions, while guaranteeing none. I dare say I've accomplished the Rawlsian goal better than Rawls, creating a system no one can object to. Really, no one at all. Well, almost no one. Imperialist utopians might run into issues, but all other utopians will be able to realize their ambitions within the framework. Imperialists, utopians, what does that mean? What's that mean? Now, I'm glad we are covering this. Nozick categorization of utopians, my book fell, is quite useful. It's quite a useful concept. What the heck? Thank you, Arbiter. You see, there are three types of utopians. Essential utopians have a world they desire in mind, but have no problem with others wanting something different. Missionary utopians, like my friend John here, want to persuade everyone to join, but won't go so far as to force them. And then there's imperialist utopians, who wish to forcibly indoctrinate all into their ideal pattern of community. Imperialist utopians are the only ones who the framework would oppose. Right, okay, I think I get it now. I'm ready to ask my question. Ready to back me up, Rawls? Always. Then let's pin down his pinnacle. Lays the groundwork for it, reiterating the differences between philosophies. Throughout your visits here, and surely among the living, you've encountered individuals with very different dreams. What Marx wants is not what Locke wants. What Confucius wants is not what Machiavelli wants. Machiavelli doesn't seem to know what he wants. Yes, well, anyone with such terrible ideas was bound to question them eventually. The point is this. Oh my god. Different people have different values from this. When we conclude, they'll have different ideal societies. This establishes the monarchist state I described in my last statement has not changed at its core. This described in my... Nothing I've described here deviates dramatically from the ideals of libertarianism. While pocket communities can be diverse, our overall structure is still nothing more than what's needed to protect our liberties. The minimal state is supported with a standing army, a police force, and courts, but that's all that would be required. It kind of feels like a version of the federal government and state structure. If the federal government is extremely limited, then yes, these are parallels, but the important part is that it is extremely limited. The government will leave sub-communities alone unless they try to exploit or defraud others. Nozicks presented something I actually haven't heard of before. He's evolved his monarchist state from one that maintains the rights of individuals and group, the rights of individuals, to ones that maintains the rights of individuals and group. It's a subtle but significant difference. The question is, what problems affect groups? Are there any his approach does not account for? I guess we'll have to find out, won't we? And I don't see your brooding in the back there, Mom. Okay, I thought that might be it. No, wait, this isn't exciting at all. You're wrong. I am? You are. This establishes the full flexibility of the framework, the core that maintains individual freedom while also allowing freedoms of society. Okay, let's say you visited several communities and determined none are for you. Some are close, but none are fully aligned. Maybe you've met a few others along the way who share your feelings. This process and the fact that no one is allowed to impede it will result in an ever-shifting landscape. Some communities... What the heck? Okay, that was weird. Not to constantly repeat my arguments, but doesn't founding communities have the same limited resource problem as before? Well, no, not to the same extent, because you won't be starting from scratch. Community forming encourages sharing resources more effectively than a purely individualized approach. You and your ideological allies all want your new community to succeed, after all. We did it, guys. I think that's the last one. I want to review some of your statements, Nozick. Correct me if I'm... Hold on, let me get that water. I feel like I'm going to have to read fast, because that's how she be talking. Here we go. You believe you get around the limited resource problem by allowing people to form communities. Those who don't have enough on their own will join with kindred spirits to bolster their cause, like founding a company, I guess. This all seems correct, and communities can become desirable not just because of their ideals, but because of the prosperity of their members. Of course, wealth is one of many ways a community can strengthen itself. I have to say, this is an interesting model. To get around disagreements by building your utopia to support such disagreements. It's rather clever. Thank you, Ariadne. So, what sort of society will you form? You're not actually agreeing with my model, are you? Tell me, Nozick. What happens if the resources are all in the hands of those who disagree with you? Or even worse, those who hate you? The core of this philosophy is that it allows for all sorts of communities. It follows that some will be based on identity, favoring racial, sexual, or cultural purity. To put it less delicately, communities are bigots. Yes, those will exist. But they'll be weak and essentially self-quarantined. The framework won't allow them to impose on others. A nice thought. Let's put it to the test. Is the way wealth is distributed currently the result of just transactions? Of course not. Historically, history is stained with unfair trade practices by any libertarian standard. We'd undo those. We can properly sort. And the monarchist state would stop them going forward. Properly sort. A tough job for any government, let alone one that prides itself on minimal interference. We say two wrongs don't make a right, but if we can't correct the first wrong, where does that leave us? Those so-called weak groups will start with all the advantages of history. They can use their ill-gotten gains to throw elaborate hater parties and drink the most expensive haterade. I like that. Such societies feel less like a quarantine and more like a gated community. Please get the fuck off the property. I don't believe it. Everyone should be able to. Personal liberty is important to you. Hell, it's important to me. But personal liberty works so much better when not bound by the chains of history. When built on a society that's already stratified, your libertarian utopia only reinforces existing issues. In short, your philosophy works best when built upon a fair foundation. A foundation it will struggle to create. This is a salient point. I confess, I came to question this same issue myself later in life. It seems I must again admit that aspects of my philosophy are woefully... So that's it. So, this is it? That's it. Nozick's philosophy is crumbling just like all the rest. All that's left is for Rawls to tear him down and prove once again that none of us have any idea what we're doing. Now, hold on. The core of my philosophy is still... Come on, Rawls. Get it over with. Well, I just finish him. Mom, stop. You've made your point. This is just another example of how messed up everything...
Nonsense!
I will not finish anyone. What? Robert has admitted a key fault in his philosophy. I'm glad he is able to do so. I naturally think there are many, many more than the one he admitted, but those are discussions for another day. Similarly, even though John's conclusions are misguided, he's an excellent check on my impulses. It's true, my ideals work best in a society that is already just and do little to create a just starting point. I did not fully knit the humane considerations and joint cooperative activities my philosophy allows into its fabric. I don't believe it. Neither do I. I don't believe it. Neither do I. Robert, if you're willing to admit that much, how can you still stand by the core of libertarianism? Well, constant regulation is still... Are they going off screen? What's happening here? But perhaps if victims of the most serious injustices were owed compensation by those who benefited from that injustice as sort of a one-time package. Interesting. If you see you of all people invent reparations, how do you resolve that with your earlier ideal of a minimal state? After all, different individuals will claim different injustices unless the situation is assessed from the original position. Again with the original position, John, I swear. Is that it? Indeed, that is it. Wow, okay, that was actually kind of amazing. Oh, both seemed genuinely motivated to build a better world, even if they didn't agree on what that world was. And when Nozick realized his philosophy had some rough implications, he actually reconsidered those aspects. I got more ideas of possible futures from them together than I would have with just one. Well then, Ariadne Jones, has their debate shifted your view? Is there hope for our society after all? Is there hopes for society after all? What does that mean? I mean, maybe, I don't know. You presented me with the ideal, but will people in the real world reflect and grow like Rawls and Nozick did? No. Just look at Mom. It took history's greatest thinkers to get her to admit she might be wrong, and the process broke her. I'm not broken. What? I'm not broken, Adney, or at least I'm putting the pieces back together. And it wasn't the dead philosophers who wore me down, it was you. Me. Seeing myself and our whole system through your eyes. I thought you avoided politics because of how much of me it took from you. I see now, it's about what it took from me. And yet, there's been good in my work. I've promoted education, founded Capra. I've even had a few moments like Rawls and Nozick where, after vigorous discussion, an opponent admits I made them to reconsider. Only in the face of our political pressure does that all fizzle out. If we could change that, how? I don't know, Pumpkin. It's hard to be a philosopher and a politician. They require two fundamentally different instincts. I still need to be popular to win, and that need can be corrosive. But that doesn't have to mean it's hopeless. It just means we have to be vigilant. Because nothing can succeed if we stop ourselves from growing. Okay, now I think there is some hope for society. Wait, what's that? The gate. Oh, is this the final chapter? I thought there was one more. It's finally open. Excellent work. Both of us? You've both acknowledged there is room to grow, and for the living, that's enough. I could say something poetic, but about how if you are not actively growing, you are not truly living, and thus belong among the dead. But to be honest, I just thought of that now. Either way, the gate opens to you once more. Your life can carry on as it should. It's so bizarre. I've gotten what I wanted, but I'm still filled with doubt. Is what I wanted actually good? Winning the election or bringing philosophy to all. Marcus and Jen believed in their dream. So does Dad, and so do I. And let me tell you, I'm far more likely to vote for you now than when this all started. You wouldn't have voted for? I'm kidding, Mom. Mostly. Arbiter. Once I go through the gate, the bridge between worlds will be stabilized. We'll be able to travel safely, freely. God, I still said safely twice. Damn. Would you like to come with me? Be the first ambassador to my unideal world? After all you've gone through to make this happen, Pythias Smith, how could I not? Well, Pythias Smith. Well then, see you both on the other side. See you soon, pumpkin. Not even remotely, on the count of 3. Whatever you need. Okay, well, no point in stalling further, I guess. 1, 2... Okay, I'm gonna say there's definitely another chapter. Okay, whew. Alright, guys. Hope to see you in the next chapter. That was something. Thank you guys for watching.